I'm Gary Scott. I'm a luthier, and today I'm going to review AFM Safecoats Acrylac. First, I want to say that AFM Safecoat does not sponsor me in any way, but they did provide the finish for this video. But the opinions in this video are my own. My first experience with AFM Safecoat was about 9 years ago. I was interested in their polyurethane, and after talking with Jay at the company, he sent me a sample to try. I have used it all this time up until now. I built 2 guitars this summer for my client and decided to use poly on the first and try the lacquer on the second. I also want to take a minute here to explain the difference in both finishes. The polyurethane tends to be very durable and hard. However, it has its limitations. For example, it doesn't really burn in between coats. So, if you start sanding and sand through the top layer, when you go to buff it, you'll see lines where the layers are in the finish. With lacquer, you don't have that problem. However, most water-based lacquers tend to be extremely soft and need a lot of coats to get a good buildup. Now, one thing I did encounter though with the polyurethane is because I don't use just traditional wood stains, I happen to use aniline dye and acrylic paints. I've had bad reactions, so I always have to use a sealer before I can start the polyurethane top coats. So when I received this lacquer, the very first thing I did was made a test block using an alcohol-based dye, a water-based dye, and acrylic paint, and put this lacquer on top, and I had 0 reactions, which was a huge bonus. Now with the polyurethane, it's a very dense and high viscosity finish. It's a little tricky to spray because you really have to cut back the fluid to get in those tight turns and not have runners or too much overspray. Now in sharp contrast, the lacquer is extremely low viscosity and very watery, and it kind of gave me a false illusion when I first saw it. I was really worried that it would do nothing but run and wouldn't give me a good buildup, but I was very wrong. But one thing to note was you have to mix it really well. Now this video was not meant to be an instructional video on how to do finish, merely a review of how I did the finish, but I am going to give you a breakdown here of the process that I used. The first thing I did was level sand the guitar with 100, 150, 220, and 320 grits. I then primed the guitar with a black acrylic paint, sanded that to a 400 grit, and then started my color coats with the black pigmented lacquer that was also supplied by AFM Safecoat. I then proceeded to do 6 coats of color, and I was very impressed how opaque the black pigmented lacquer was. I did 6 coats total and then sanded that to an 800 grit. I then started in on my clear coats, and I did 8 coats total, letting them dry about 3 to 4 hours in between coats, 3 coats a day. And then I let that set and cure for about a week. Then I went ahead and proceeded to sand it down to get it to its final gloss. I started with the 800 grit, and then I went to a 1000. Then I went to Abralon pads, which was a 2000, 3000, and 4000. And then I switched to a 3M Trizact pad that was a 5000 grit. I use oil for this sanding, not water. It leaves less scratches, has a slower cut, and definitely gives you more gloss and a better look. In this case, I'm not taking this guitar to a buffing wheel for that wet look. I was just going to use some rubbing compound on it to bring some of the color back, to give it more of that graphite or gunmetal sort of look with this black color. It's perfect for my client. Then I took mineral spirits and really cleaned all the oil and residue off of the guitar. And then I just took a cotton cloth and used the rubbing compound on it, and it brought back the shine and the color perfectly. Now that was pretty much it for the finish, and before I leave you with a clip of Sean Vanek playing the guitar in his studio, I want to give you my final thoughts and review. First of all, it's one of the least toxic finishes I've ever seen or used, which is great because I work in either my basement or my garage. That being said, it outperformed just about any other water-based lacquer I have ever used. It's tough, it's durable, it was very easy to work with, and it is now my new finish of choice. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please feel free to comment below, and please hit the like and the subscribe button.